Welcome to a soccer parenting discussion with Lori Lindsey, a retired women's national team and professional player. And she's currently the co-owner of a gym in the Washington, D.C. area where she's working with many people, but one of her specialties is working with young athletes in their performance. I want to talk today about maybe some gaps that potentially exist between what kids are doing and what their ultimate goals are. What are a couple things, Lori, that parents can do, important for parents to consider if they're trying to help their child realize their dream of being an elite performer?
Yeah, I mean, today's youth, it's a lot different with sports. It's a lot different than I think we can both agree when we were growing up. I think on the one hand, it's an amazing time if we're specifically talking about young females, it's an awesome time. So I don't want that to be misconstrued here because it's awesome. There's so many opportunities for these young athletes. But at the same time, I think there's so many opportunities and there's so much information out there. Parents are trying to do what they think is best for the kid, but it's a little unclear on what they should do. One thing that I see is that we have here in the DC area that seems to be common is everyone's encouraging them to, okay, yes, play soccer if you like, if you're enjoying it, continue to play soccer, but play multiple sports if you can. But what happens is here in DC, if you're going to play soccer, it's usually a year-long commitment. And so there's not really an off season. So if you're putting another sport on top of that, then it's like you're going 3 or 4 times a week to soccer, plus you're trying to go to basketball or lacrosse. And we're already talking about kids being fatigued and stressed out just from their sport. We're not even talking about school on top of that and then adding another sport. So it seems that we just have the kids like running all around and again, just playing either multiple sports or just one sport and not really kind of getting that physical literacy or understanding of their bodies and just, being burnt out or overused with injuries.
Yeah, it is a challenge because, we, as a parent, you say, okay, I want my child to, do some sports sampling and participate in a variety of things, but then they just immediately get overscheduled.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So finding that balance, I think, is important.
Balance is huge. And then one thing that I've been talking to a lot of the kids that I'll train, and even so we'll have kids that are as young as 12 or 13 in here, and we'll have them even younger, and it'll just be teaching them the foundations of movement as well.
Great.
And then I have kids, some soccer players as well that are in high school, and so they're just focusing on soccer now because they're going to play in college, and so that's it. But we talk a lot about, okay, you're not playing another sport, or if you're younger and it's too difficult to play another sport, then use strength training as your other sport. Because I think what we're finding is there's been so much talk about sports specificity. Mm-hmm. And so these kids are getting injured because they're not used to any sort of different movements. When we grew up, it was like constant playing outside, running, jumping, climbing, playing tag, right, chase. I mean, you're just doing everything. So you learn those fundamental and the movements and that foundation. And kids today, you just don't see that. There's not play.
Right.
And so using strength as your extra sport because, one thing a way that I relate it to is that no one just got better by playing their sport. It's not like LeBron James just got better by playing basketball. No, he's an amazing athlete. He's strong, he's resilient, and then he's also a wonderful basketball player. The players at the elite level with our women's national team, none of them are fragile players that are that can't run up and down the field. No, everybody's a wonderful athlete, and the ones that stay there are the resilient, injury-free athletes that are consistent with their play. And so I talk a lot about that with my athletes and say, okay, instead of necessarily now using it as like a basketball or another sport, get into the gym, understand your body and how that can help with your sport, and then those lessons as well in the gym carry on to life after soccer, because it allows you to understand how to stay in shape. It allows you good habits and taking ownership of your career.
Sure. I was talking to a parent last night on the fields, and she was talking about her working out, and we were in this discussion, and I kept referring to it as strength training, and she kept saying, well, no, I'm not doing strength training. And I'm like, well, you're in the gym, you're doing plyos, you're doing some footwork stuff. I mean, she was working with a TRX. That's strength training.
Strength training,
like, well, now I'm thinking, like, I'm not working with the bars and stuff. So what are some of the performance things that you do? Because I think strength training, in an old school mentality, you imagine, hardcore heavy lifting. What are some of the performance strength training things you're doing with a 13, 14, 15-year-old?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could use kettlebells, body weight. I mean, that's all strength training. Just strength training is learning. It doesn't have to have an added load to it. It's just learning how to move, proper movement with your body. So with the younger kids, it'll and depending on their level of understanding as well, and their past history with any sort of this type of training. But TRXs, you're exactly right. You can use kettlebells. You can use med balls. We have sleds in here where you put weight on and then you push them. Teaches kids like single leg strength, single leg power with those. We have monkey bars in here, jumping rope, just basic movements of understanding.
All the things that we used to do in third and fourth
everything,
grade.
right? And then, chin-ups, pull-ups. That is like, I can't tell you how many females we get in here that's their goal. Well, that's strength training in the purest form. You're lifting your body up, and you're not using any external weight except your body. So it's exactly what we teach them.
Let's talk about the concept we have in America of the more is better, because I think we have a tendency to fall into that. I know that I did when I was playing in Italy. Our team practiced in the afternoon, and I'd get up in the morning and I'd go running, and then I'd go to this track and do all these plyo stuff, and I'd come back to the hotel where I was living, and the men's players who were playing on the Udinese team were there, and Max would be like, calma, tranquila, like you're just doing too much, relax. They're sitting by the pool, relaxing. So what is up with our U.S. mentality of, more is always better? Is it always better?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. It's the U.S. mentality. I think that's what, if we're just specifically talking about the U.S. women's team, I think that's what's, kept us on top for so long, and I don't think we want to lose that mentality, but I think what we're learning is there's like a difference between just more and like intensity, right? Yeah. So like you can just go and do, like, I think the thing is like, I look at like our school system. Well, we don't go to school year round, or most schools don't, right? They get a summer break. Professional athletes, you don't play year round. You get some sort of break for the most part. And so why are our young kids playing year round? Doesn't make any sense. Why aren't they getting a break? And then they're going to school, and then they have the stresses of trying to get into college. So that's where I constantly try to educate the athletes that I'm working with. It's like, okay, come in, let's get, because there seems to be like a focus issue sometimes as well. Let's get in, be very diligent about what we're doing. It doesn't have to be long. It could be 30, 45, 60 minutes. Get in, be focused on it, and then go have fun and play. I mean, not that that's not fun, but like be focused where you are and then go. But I think sometimes we're like, oh, well, I got to go. I have this practice, and then I'll go to that practice. And then there's not any time to ever reflect on like what you're doing. Are you enjoying it? We just become robotic. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I've fallen victim to that as well in the past. But then you quickly realize that your body can't keep up, and you're either burnt out, mentally fatigued, or so I think you have to be careful, because these kids aren't having a chance to be able to like really kind of understand. They're just tired all the time. They're just going from one practice. They don't even know if they're enjoying it.
I'm hearing you talk, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, we used to deal with these burnout issues maybe in college, and now what's happening is we're dealing with these issues in high school, even sometimes middle school, because these kids are just trying so hard. Kind of with a dream of playing on the national team, or with getting that college scholarship, or whatever it is. But sometimes we need to just sort of reframe everything. And
I think we've been fed for so long too that like, if you're not doing enough, you're not good enough. our egos and we're wrapped up in that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one of my athletes the other day was like, okay, I'm pretty tired. I'm like, okay, then you're not going to come into the gym. Let's rest and we'll see how you're feeling tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, that's totally fine for me. And she's like, are you sure that's okay? And she's like, I thought you were going to think I was slacking. I was like, absolutely not. So they're just I think the kids are being fed like more and more and more. Yeah. And then they're afraid that's like they're not doing enough. And I'm like, actually, feel better today, so then tomorrow when you come in, you can have a little bit more intensity and then get after it, and then you can rest.
Excellent.
So,
what advice do you have for parents? Because I do imagine if they're trying to get in and do some strength training and performance training in the gym separate. I mean, my daughter is training 4 days a week for ECNL, so just trying to find the time. Should there be communication with a coach? Should this be something the coach is engaged with, or we're connecting with a coach, letting him or her know what we're doing?
Yeah, and I think even some of I was talking with a team, the U13 team a couple weeks ago, and just maybe early on too for some of these kids, their strength work could be a dialed in warm up, and like adding in some like understanding of how to do like a plank or some push-ups, and even if they're not there yet, it's just starting to get these kids to be more aware of their bodies and their bodies in space. So, but yeah, I think it doesn't have to be like a crazy amount. Again, 1 or 2 times a week. And if they can work it in, like your practice at 5:30, can you go after school for 30 minutes? Like a place that's close to your house. And again, it could be once or twice a week to begin with.
Yeah,
that will give them some added benefit, I think, of just getting stronger. And I mean, the most important, right? Stay injury free.
Exactly. And that's what, as parents, we seek for our children, is that we want to give them an opportunity to accomplish what they're hoping to accomplish if they have the right mentality to do so. But more than that, we want them to be resilient. We want them to be injury free. So these are all great. These are all great tips. So thanks. Thanks for taking the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
At Soccer Parenting, we're really just trying to educate parents so that they can empower their children and so that our kids can have the best experience possible. So this certainly helps.
Absolutely. Thank you.